Well, here I am.
Hi. I know your name from we commissioned you to do a cover of a book or something.
Yes.
Ah,
Yeah.
yes, your legend precedes you.
You know Kimberly.
I know Kimberly. How's it going?
This
love?
is Cheryl.
Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you.
I believe I work with Kate Laster.
Yes, I enjoy her political printmaking classes on Monday evening. A lot of fun.
Great. Yeah.
This is Joe. If y'all don't know Joe.
Hello, Joe.
Hi.
So are we missing anyone? We're missing one person. Who are we missing?
Rachel's there.
Rachel Lozada.
Yes. She is here.
Oh, there she is.
I think she's on mute.
Yeah, I don't see her picture.
Rachel, unmute yourself and show your video if possible. She might just be signing on.
Mm-hmm. Might just take a minute.
It might take a moment.
Yeah, signing on seems like a challenge today.
No.
I wonder why. Is it like just a lot of people using Zoom? Or?
I don't know.
The internet just gets tired sometimes.
There we are.
Rachel.
Thank God for the boyfriends. Thank you, sir.
Rachel.
Hello.
Unmute yourself, Rachel.
Oh. I'll be right back.
Yes.
Can I unmute her? Can you unmute her? Can we unmute her ourselves?
I can ask to unmute.
You might have the power to unmute, Rick. We don't.
Mm-hmm. We'll get there. We'll get there.
Rachel, in your upper right corner,
Yeah.
there's a.
No, sorry.
Oh, you got it. You got it.
The living room side on Monday.
Okay. Everyone have
Hey,
a good
everyone.
time. I'm going to be
Hello.
lurking in the background and with my mic off.
Uh-oh.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Rick. See you.
Thank you, everyone.
I'm so excited for this class. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for signing up, for logging on, for committing an hour of your evening. My name is Janet Williams. And in the daytime, I run a fantastic community art program for Hospitality House on Market Street. And in the evening time, I keep myself sane with embroidery. So when Rick came up with the idea of doing a workshop for Women's History Month, I just jumped at the opera. I just thought this is such a perfect, moment in time to sit with some sisters and to just talk about what I think that can keep us sane, because being females in this world can drive you crazy a lot of the time. So the reason I started doing embroidery was once the pandemic hit, I moved to the South Bay. And I knew I was going to be spending a lot of time on Caltrain back and forth every day to work. And I also knew I was going to be sitting around a lot. And I'm a very active, energetic person. So sitting around is not an easy thing for me. So I started just messing around with an embroidery hoop and just doing some simple stitches. And I found it was so calming, and hours can just drip past. And it's just such a lovely activity, but it also gets a lot of frustration out because the motion is this kind of like stabby thing. So you look quaint in the corner and you've got your little embroidery hoop and you're, having a nice little moment. But really, I'm just like, I can't believe they said that. And I'm so mad at that. So in light of that, that's what started me into embroidery. And it's about the 1 year anniversary of when I started. So just to say, it's something you can pick up real quick, and it just is a gift if you want to pass time. So that's why I do embroidery. But I want to get to know you all a little bit as well. So you want to tell me what your name, what your pronoun, and just a little something about your day, something that's on your mind, just a thought that you have. That be okay? Cool. Who would like to start?
I'm untangling my thread. First step, untangle your thread. My name is Zaria. I also I also go by Charlene. I'm an artist and a poet. And yeah, kind of. And yeah, during the pandemic, I mean, I've just been really kind of, feeling kind of depressed about not being able to do things. I did have COVID back in January. I ordered some art supplies. And to this date, the stuff still hasn't arrived.
Oh, geez.
So I thought, well, I would order these things so that give me something to do while I was recovering, right? Well, I signed up for an online art class. I ordered this stuff like way back,
Mhm.
Well, the art class came and went. And
Oh, no.
so here I am. So anyways, when I was preparing for this today,
Cool.
past week, I know this is not going to get done in an hour. It probably won't get done in a week. But I don't know if you can see this.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
My aunt,
Oh,
my aunt taught my sister and I to embroider when we were kids.
uh-huh.
She told us to use colored ink to draw out a pattern,
Mm-hmm.
and it was washable. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then to kind of get our threads and stuff to kind of match our pattern. So this is what I drew up today.
Love it.
I'm gonna give it to my
This
sister.
workshop then.
Then
That's
it'll
so
probably
cool.
take me probably the rest of the year to finish it.
Hey,
So-
there's only the deadlines we set for ourselves, and if it's going to take a year, then yeah, it'll take a year. Lovely. Thanks, Charlene. And what's your preferred pronouns?
She,
She, her.
her, or she.
Thanks. Who would like to go next?
I'll go next.
Go for
Hello,
it.
everyone. My name is Kimberly Trice,
Mhm.
and my pronouns is she and her.
Mhm.
And this is my first time taking this type of class. I'm grateful and just ready to get started.
Excellent. Who would like to go next?
My
Nick?
name is Joe, and I had to grab I don't know if you can see this. I am a cap artist.
Ah, yes.
So I go to the studio where Janet is our fabulous director. I'm a mixed media artist and poet. So, and I recently have been adding stitching to my mixed media. And like Janet said, I have found that slow stitching to be very, very, very relaxing. So to be able to learn how to embroider, and my mother did needlepoint growing up, so I'm kind of connecting to that lineage of craft that my mother did, and my great grandmother sewed. So and that's really where I started my art formation. Was really my great grandmother and grandmother lived together right around the corner from where I grew up, and it was just such a treasure. I could go there, get away from the maddening crowd of the household, and my grandmother had a little box of crayons and paper, and so that would be, I could be quiet, and I would draw flowers on the front. I would make these little cards, fold the paper into a shape of a card. I would draw flowers, and then on the inside, I would write prayers to my family, and I called them my little spiritual bouquets. So my spiritual formation really came there too at my grandmother's table. So this is going to be a nice tradition for me to hold next to my heart. So thank you for having us, Janet.
Nice. So happy you're all here.
And nice to meet all of you, be with you tonight.
Mhm.
Nice to meet you too. I'll
Thank
go next. So I'm Cheryl Darakat, and I'm a visual artist. And in the spirit of Janet's introduction, I'm a visual artist all the time, but I also have a day job at a telemedicine tech startup. And I actually went to art school across the street from the old Counterpulse. So I was so delighted to be included tonight because I really enjoy making work that involves the hand as opposed to the computer. So most of my work is either glass or work on paper, and I just love bookbinding. So I thought, embroidery, women's history, and talking about women artists, yeah, sign me up. So thank you so much for including me tonight.
Good.
So nice to meet you all.
So glad you're here, Cheryl. And Rachel, last but not least.
Hi everyone. I'm really happy to join you guys. So Janet, I think you might know a couple of people who I know at Hospitality House, PJ and Al Manalo.
Yeah,
So
my homies.
quite a ways back. So I am so pronouns are she, hers, she, her. In my first language in Filipino, our pronouns are actually non-gendered. So like we have a long ways to go with other languages. But anyway, my background has mostly been as an activist in the Philippines, and I was part of the women's movement there. You know, it turned out, eventually there's an arm of the women's movement that became like a grassroots party. So they're now represented in Congress as a party. There's multiple parties in the Philippines. But here, since I immigrated about 28 years ago, I've been involved more in health and social services, specifically HIV work and substance abuse, substance use counseling and stuff like that. And more specifically with the Asian and Pacific Islander community. Although I did start my very first actual paid job was the Pistahan Festival, the annual Filipino festival at Yerba Buena Garden. So then about eight years ago, but I consider myself a closeted, undeveloped artist for a long time. I used to like tinkering around and things like that. And then growing up, I have some experience in embroidery. I was just reminded now a long time ago when we were kids. I have two older sisters, and my mother can become a little bit OCD. So sometimes, so when she was like, I think it was going to coming up on Easter Sunday, so she decided, and she always like used to dress as three girls, like triplets, with some slight variations. So people always thought we were like triplets. But she decided she was gonna sew us like cotton skirts, and she wanted flowers and like leaves embroidered on them. So she sewed them and she said, "Okay, girls, now embroider your own skirts." So we were like,
Wow.
event in the Philippines is very different. There's no TV except just watching, Moses, like old Moses and all the Hollywood films on Bible movies or whatnot. And there's no school or anything, so you don't really have much to do. So you remember like staying up late and embroidering, and our skirts were not finished yet. So I could have like a positive relationship to embroidery. And then I have this imagery of like, we're always rushing something because my mom decided last minute she wanted us to do something. But anyway, about 8 years ago, I got involved in the Philippine American Women's Weaving Circle, specifically focused on a tribal weaving from the Philippines. We had a native indigenous person of that tribe who's our teacher still. And then that set off my long fascination with weaving, and myself being my sub-ethnic group is Ilocano. If you can kind of consider it like, it's like tribal groupings in a loose term. So I've also then, besides what I started with that backstrap, indigenous backstrap weaving group, I've also been learning and teaching myself pedal loom weaving, which is the Ilocano weaving tradition I have. So I'm kind of focusing on that, although I still try to like do some nonprofit work just to have health insurance and pay rent and stuff like that. So
all the things
Try
that making actual art.
it.
Wow. Okay, so there's a whole, if this was a room, there's a whole room of experience and lineages. Because what I think is interesting about embroidery is that we all know a female in our past who has done it, who has taught us, who has shared something, and it's a very like passed on skill. And also I like doing it because it also makes me feel connected to every woman who's been in my past who has taught me something or shared something with me. But also, you know, there's also things that they have taught us that mightn't be so good. And I like it as a carrying on and also of a rewriting, so that the women that come after me will have maybe a better curated vision of what it is to be a woman or what it is to be feminine. So a lot of my embroidery holds this kind of balance between resisting what I was taught and carrying what I was taught. So I hope none of you are very offended by curse words, because they feature heavily in my work. Growing up, I was always told, you know, ladies don't curse, you know, why won't you wear a dress? You know, this is, you know, from my father, when he'd always be like, you know, ladies don't curse, you know, dresses will look much nicer on you. And on the other hand, my mum was like, put some pants on, go climb a tree, go get messy, go in the garden. So she always had this incredible feminist whisper in my ear when she'd still turn to my father and be like, oh yes, of course, she's going to get in her dress in a minute. So I like to honor what my mum taught me through the embroideries. Ironically, she doesn't like a lot of my embroideries because she's now gotten a little older and she's decided cursing isn't okay anymore. But as a kid, it was very much like, just don't do it in front of your father. Anyway, so let me share screen and I'll just show you, I just want to show you quick examples of some of my work, mostly just so you can kind of see what you can get up to in a year of not knowing what you're doing. You'll see that, okay? What we're doing. So there's all my embroideries are full screen. I like to have something that reflects either the female body or something feminine, but like in a much more whole and empowered and strong way. Like I don't want any weak ladies falling back going, help me. So all my works are something to do with an empowering moment for a female. So there's this, and also most of these designs, I probably shouldn't tell you this, but most of these designs are I just find cool artists on Instagram and then I transfer over the image. So if I was to move forward and exhibit these or do anything, I obviously would have to credit the artist and get their permission. But while I'm practicing, this is a cool shot, a drawing I found just of a headless woman on the toilet checking her phone. And I was like, that's kind of femininity to me, just this unexplained middle ground existence. And so then there's some a bit more raunchier, but they're always females with their eyes are looking at you, so they're turning the gaze back on you, and they're strong, and sometimes they're headless, but and then often there's some curse words. But the whole thing is just it's my interpretation of femininity. And then this is a quote that my sister, who is my all-time favorite person in the world, she's very proper and she's always looks really well kept and never does anything wrong. I'm the messy wild one. And she just turns to me one day and she's like, you know, Jan, every passing of gas is a gift. She was talking about childbirth and how she had trapped gas during it and it was the worst pain ever. So I made her that for her birthday to remind her that she's also a bit messy sometimes. So that's some examples. So I want to go straight into it. I want us to start getting our hands dirty and to start embroidering. So does that sound all good to you all?
Let's go.
Excellent. So do we get our kits from Rick?
Yes.
Excellent.
I did.
Okay.
Yes, we did.
I've also dreamed of being like an art kids TV host, so I might go into that realm right now. Okay, everybody, here's what I prepared earlier. Okay, I'm gonna switch to, I have another cool little camera here. You can all see that okay? Cool. Excellent. Da-da-da. Okay, so first things first, you're gonna get your transfer paper, your design, a pencil, and your fabric. And we're gonna put them down in the order of first fabric. Y'all with me?
Can you start over?
Fabric, and then transfer paper. And now you want to make sure that it's the dark side going down first. And if you're not sure which side is which, you can make like a tiny little dot and lift it up. And if you see that it's made a mark on the fabric, then you know it's the right way down. Good. And then on top of the transfer paper, we're going to put our design. So it's like a nice sandwich. You've got your fabric, your transfer paper, and then your design on the top. We all there?
Yes.
Cool. So then now you want to grab a pencil.
So Janet, is it okay if I use a different design than what you
Oh,
provided?
of course. Of course, I encourage. The designs are there as a template if needed, but if you have another design, totally go for it. You can also free draw onto the transfer paper. So instead of tracing, you can kind of just do a nice, you just draw and then it comes through. All right, thumbs up if you're ready.
No, but I'll draw faster with the pencil. How
Oh,
about?
no. I was gonna say, yeah. Oh, so we're start. So now, okay, so now we can start. Cheryl's flying ahead. I love it. So now we can start outlining the design. Sorry, I should have said that sooner. Get some nice music first.
You can kind of even use like a stylus. I mean, like a cell phone stylus.
Yeah, anything that's kind of hard and pointy.
Why men great till they gotta be great? Woo! I just took a DNA test, turns out I'm 100% that bitch. Even when I'm crying crazy, yeah, I got boy problems, that's the human in me. Bling bling, then I solve them, that's the goddess in me. You could've had a bad bitch, not committal. Help you with your career, just a little. You're supposed to hold me down, but you're holding me back, and that's the sound of me not calling you back. Why men great till they gotta be great? Don't text me, tell it straight to my face. Best friend set me down in the salon chair. Shampoo press, get you out of my ride you back with you, bitch. I mean, who would wanna hide this? I will never, ever, 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 ever be your side chick. I put the singing single. Ain't worried about a ring on my finger. So you can tell your friend, shoot your shot when you see him. It's okay, he already in my DM. Why men great till they gotta be great? Don't text me, tell it straight to my face. Best friend set me down in the salon chair. Shampoo press, get you out of my hair. Fresh photos with the ball lighting. No man on the Minnesota Vikings. True hurts needed something more exciting. I'ma hit you back in a minute. I'll play tag, bitch, I've been it. We don't fuck with lies, we don't do goodbyes. We just keep it pushing like aye, aye, aye. I'ma hit you back in a minute. I'll play tag, bitch, I've been it. We don't fuck with lies, we don't do goodbyes. We just keep it pushing like aye, aye, aye. Wild men great till they gotta be great. Don't text me, tell it straight to my face. Best friend set me down in the salon chair. Shampoo press, get you out of my hair. Fresh photos with the ball lighting. No man on the Minnesota Vikings. True hurts needed something more exciting. Independent, athletic.
Janet, I have a question.
Uh-huh. I am 1 second, Joe. I just need to turn this off. Whoop. Okay.
So can we use this tracing paper a number of times?
Yeah, it works. Let me turn around there. Yeah, it works multiple times. But I find if the bit that is already made an imprint on it, it won't make a second imprint. But if
Oh,
you just
okay.
turn it around, it works. It works. You can reuse
Okay.
it. I normally use it like 3 different times and just rotate it around.
Yeah, I
mean,
wish I had moved it up, yes, to have better spacing. But that's good, thank you.
Cool. Do we all have the design transferred?
Closer.
Still working on it?
Unfortunately, I'm doing my own thing here, so.
Cool. All right,
But go ahead.
for the sake of, I wish we could do this for hours, but I really want to get through the whole process. So let's pause with where we're at with the design. You can always come back to it and change it around, or keep working on it. So step 2 is getting it onto the hoop. So do you have your hoops at the ready?
Yep.
Hoop at the ready? Cool. So see this little claspy thing at the top?
Mhm.
You just want to like rotate that a few times so that it loosens. You can kind of pull the 2 little things apart. You don't need to pull it apart the whole time because the inside will just pop out. So then you want to take the inside hoop, put your design over it. And this takes a few times to kind of line it up properly. So you can kind of feel where the outside is. And that's why it's really nice working with this canvas, because it takes good imprints and you can see what's happening. So you want to kind of line up your design so it's where you want it to be. I kind of like to have it centered. And then you just kind of push the outer hoop down around it. And if it's kind of giving you resistance, just make it a bit looser. And then, bit tricky, need a bit of elbow grease on it. but then once it's on, it's on. And then you can tighten it up again. And then it is on the hoop. Wonderful, Joe, wonderful. And you can always keep moving it around. So if you were to embroider like a jacket you have or a shirt or something, you can just get like the whole piece of clothing and just attach the hoop onto the bit that you want to work on. Because its main purpose is to just keep the fabric really tight so that you can put the needle in and out without it getting too floppy on you.
So I have another question, Janet.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm noticing my pattern is a little bit high. So if I wanted to do another imprint down here, would I take it off the hoop and do another drawing and then kind of start over?
Yeah, you can
Yeah.
take it off the hoop. You can add. I find it's best to do the transfer when it's on flat, because the more
Yeah. Oh yeah.
you're pressing on the carbon paper, the easier it is to come through.
Yeah, that's true.
But in a pinch, if you've got it on the hoop, if you're really happy with the placement and then you just want to add another design, sometimes if you get like a book that is smaller than your hoop, you can kind of put it underneath. So like,
Oh, okay.
I know, like, I could use this, put that down, and then put this over. So it's just so that something's kind of pushing back on it.
Okay, that makes sense.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Of course. And yeah, sometimes it takes a few goes of putting the hoop on to make sure that the design is where you want it to be.
Mhm.
So we all there? Is our hoop on? Yes, Kimberly, yes. Nice. Beautiful, Cheryl.
All right.
Zariah, do you have yours too? Oh, you're already going for it. Love it.
There we go.
Rachel, you got
Go ahead.
You trying it?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, cool. I'm just checking. Have you got your hoop on your design?
Go ahead. I have to just add some border on it.
Beautiful. Cool. All right. So now we've got this. So I'm gonna teach you just an initial what's it called? The back stitch. Back stitch to start, because there's a lot of different stitches you can use. All of them have different effects. Like, let me see. This one. So this one is entirely back stitched. It's just like, I have another one. That's all back stitched. This design's just all back stitching. The most of this design is just back stitching. So it's really cool, versatile. It's essentially how you make a straight line with your thread. So I'm going to show you a tutorial because they made it better than I could. Video clip. Can you all see that okay?
Yes.
Cool. So this is the back stitch. you all getting the gist of that?
Yes.
So you're following the line, you're bringing the thread through the material towards you, and then you're putting it back at the last hole that you went into. So do you want me to play that again, or are you okay to give it a go?
Was her first stitch going in from the top, or did she come from underneath for the
Come
first
from
stitch?
underneath,
Mhm.
definitely, because you want the little knot to be on the back of your design.
Right.
Thank you.
Of course. So I guess first step is to thread the needle, though. That's the fun bit. So I invite you all to thread your needle in your color of choice.
Does it matter how many strands?
One strand. Go with the one. And I normally have pretty long, I double over the thread.
Yeah.
This one. So that I get the thread, I get it in half, I put a knot on one end, and then as you're coming through, you'll pull the two strands, but then only one will come through, and the rest will be attached to the material.
Oh, is it recommended to, like, if we're working on a leaf, to go, if you're filling in the body of the leaf, do you just make one long stitch? Or do you-
So
do you
leaves
or-
are like another little technique.
Oh, okay. So,
Let me
That's
end
the
this.
satin stitch, isn't it? The leaf.
So yeah, leaves have their own stitch technique, which
okay, so I'll work on the letters.
yeah.
Yeah, I'll work on the
Okay,
letters.
sorry, I should have said if you've got this is like the outline or any
Okay.
straight lines.
Okay, I'm gonna change my thread then.
Cool.
Changing my thread.
This is essentially just following the line of your pencil.
Okay, I'm gonna change it to purple.
Now, Janet, we started in the back, right?
Yes. Come from behind. If your design is here, you want to come through from the back.
All right.
How long a length of thread do you start with?
I go as long as my arm goes. So I pull it, and as long as that is, that's a Lord Frederick trick. Now that could be longer than you want it to be, but I just like, because for the first while you're kind of doing a fun dance move. And you want to add the knot at the end of the thread, so that when you come in from behind, it'll catch and it'll hold there.
Okay. I'm glad I have a needle threader.
Me
I-
too.
I could not see. All right.
And
All right.
sometimes when especially if I'm doing lettering, if you're kind of needing to guess where to bring the needle through next, when you have the thread out the front, you can kind of like, you can put it where it might go, like just with your hand, to see like, oh, is it going to go that way or that way? And then when you see where you want it to go, then you go on the other side and pierce the needle through, or then you can go, sorry, from this side. So you kind of like practice it a little and then pierce the needle. And occasionally your
Oh,
thread will go a bit wonky and it'll ball itself into a little knot. It'll it'll fray. I always take that as a little nod to just breathe through life. I find it happens if you go fast, or if your fabric is a bit thicker, or if your thread is a bit thinner. But there's mostly it just does this little ball on itself, and if you kind of just rub the knot, it like unknots itself.
Mhm.
And if it does get into a complete little panic with itself, you can easily, once you get the thread to the back of the design, you can just chop it there, put a knot in it, and then start again. Because as you can see, the back goes a bit crazy. But so long as the front is looking pretty, it doesn't matter what's happening in
Right.
the back.
Nobody's looking at the back.
Exactly.
That's right.
Sometimes kind of like this, like the back can end up looking like a whole new, like interesting version of the design. But yeah, the back's the mess. But that's okay. No one sees that.
Called art.
Exactly.
get that one close enough, but oh well.
Hmm. Everyone good? Everyone comfortable with the back stitch? Flowing through it?
It's happening.
Feeling the zen of the embroidery?
Yes, it is very relaxing. I love sewing for that reason.
And I like to think of, like we think about our grandmothers and great grandmothers, and I like to think of like the reason I got into embroidery is because I knew I was going to have a lot of downtime. I knew I was going to be very emotional and frustrated with the world, and so I like to think, I'm like, well, what were, like, they obviously had things they were frustrated about. They obviously had things that they were processing, and maybe it wasn't just a nice thing to do of an evening. Maybe it was their self-care, and maybe it was their way of calming themselves down so that they didn't have an outburst at the end of the day. And perhaps it's not such a quaint art, but it's actually this self-healing tool that has been passed down over through the generations, but in society is just accepted as a nice hobby.
And slowing down is an act of resistance.
Slowing down is an act of resistance.
Oh, I got an echo.
It's like a friend of mine once said when she was knitting, she said, I knit so I don't kill people.
I love that. Oh, that's so great. That's exactly how
That might show up on an embroidery. I don't know, maybe.
And I also find it really fun to just like think up designs and ideas and quotes and like little things that you hear. Like I like making some song lyrics into embroidery. I like just little quotes or phrases, because words translate really nicely through this medium. So you can take a very simple word and then memorialize it, and it can be something much more impactful. So I've people now texting me being like, oh, this is my quote, will you make it an embroidery for me? And I'm like, maybe I will. Is it empowering women? Because if it's not, then I probably won't. And if you need to change the thread at any point, all you do to sign off on one thread is you simply wait till it comes out the back, tie a little knot in it, and then just chop it off. And then just as easily you get another piece of thread, tie a knot in the end, and then just keep going.
What do you do with your finished product, Janet?
Well, let me show you.
Okay.
So you see there behind me, Joe?
Oh, all those on the wall is your work?
Yeah.
Wow.
Girl's
there's
been
more there.
busy.
I can't show you from this side. Oh, there he
Wow.
is.
Lockdown therapy.
So you prefer, Janet, you prefer to leave them on the hook and frame them. Use the hoop as the frame.
Yeah, the hoops, the
Use
hoops,
the
the
hoop
frame.
as the frame.
Mhm.
Oh.
Yes,
Oh.
by
That-
that sense, you could use, you could very easily use canvas as a frame as well. Like if you were, you know, when you stretch your own canvases. So anything that just stretches the material. So you could have a square embroidery design. I tried resining them and it didn't quite work.
So what do you do with your extra? You just tuck it behind or trim it when since you're leaving it on the hoop?
Yep. So this is
Oh, okay. You stuck. Oh, okay.
the thing, and then once you're done, I just turn it over and I just cut it in
Okay.
a circle around it.
Oh, I shouldn't have been talking. I made a big gap in my stitches.
That's the thing. The embroidery can sense your presence. I'm telling you, when I'm like focused and in it, it flows perfectly. If a distracting thought comes into my mind, a knot forms or I miss a thing. And it's like the embroidery going, no, come back to present, Janet, come back to present.
Yeah. Mindfulness.
Mm-hmm.
Positive thinking.
Hmm?
So positive thinking.
Exactly, Kimberly. Oh, look at you all embroidering. This is a dream come true.
Oh,
Well, thanks so much for sharing with us.
Of
no
course.
kidding.
My 7-year-old nephew saw me doing this one night and he was like, I want to learn. I was like, oh, fantastic. My first embroidery student. And I said, well, okay, well, let's start with a word because that's an easy way to start. So what do you want to do? And he said, poop. I want to embroider poop. And I said, okay. So we drew out P-O-O-P and I taught him how to do the back stitch. And he spent all night just sitting quiet in the corner embroidering.
Oh, come on, Janet.
It's true.
Confess, you forced him to use that word.
I may have encouraged him towards. Well, yeah, you have to have a little bit of divilment about it. It adds the fun.
This is helping my nervous system considerably.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah.
Good. Get that vaccine working while you're still in a CAM center. Love that. And now, so there's also, as I said, there's so many other stitches that you can do. I really just wanted to get everyone comfortable with the back stitch today because that's the one that you can do for everything. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop into the chat the link to about 4 or 5 other stitches examples on YouTube. Not going to go through them today because they're YouTube videos. They're available at all times. But from them you can learn. There's some really nice leaf techniques that or leaf stitches. There's also really nice like rose petal stitches. There's a daisy stitch. So all these are, you know, they're technically for the nice flowery embroidery style, but you can kind of use them and turn them into other things. So like you could, you know, like use the leaf stitch and make like a skirt or something. You know, you can totally get creative with them. So I am going to drop them into the chat. So continue embroidering.
That's what.
You know, there's the San Francisco Institute of Needlework and Design
Mm-hmm.
on Saturday.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they have Zoom classes now, free,
Cool.
that you can just go there and do it.
I love that.
know?
And they talk you through different designs and there are different stitches.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
I mean, the class, when you could go for the classes, they would actually have some supplies there if you wanted to buy some supplies. But you'd go there, you could take whatever you wanted with you. You didn't have to be embroidery, it could be anything. And you spend like the whole day or however long, 4 hours, just blissfully
that's a
making
dream.
beautiful things.
Nice.
I love it. Also on the topic of getting materials, I know that some of you know, but in case anyone else knows, so the community art program that I run, we are on Market Street. The cross is 6th Street. We have embroidery hoops, we have needles, we have material. Kimberly, that's so cool. Number one, yes.
Nice.
We have all the materials that you couldn't need. And because it's still COVID times, we're able to give out to-go materials to whoever comes by needing them. We also have canvas, paint, everything, clay, everything else you could need. Well, not clay, but everything else that you could need. So if ever you are in need of art supplies, 1009 Market Street, Monday to Friday, 2 till 5, come by. We can hook you up with something to create some beautiful artwork.
What are the hours again?
2 till 5, Monday till Friday,
Oh,
and also 10 till 1, Tuesday to Friday.
oh, okay.
And come March 17th, we'll be resuming Art in the Park, which is on Wednesdays. We go to the Victoria Malala Draves Park on Folsom and 6th, and we bring a cute little cart of art supplies, and everyone spreads out over all the different picnic tables, and we make art together under the trees, and the birds sing, and it's just too dreamy to imagine. So I'd love to welcome you all to that.
That
if you wanna
sounds
come.
great.
And we also have the art studio open 5 days a week as well, but we can only let in 4 people at a time to make art.
Can have all 2 people at one time,
We're at 4 right now. And
including
hopefully
staff.
I hate to butt in, but can you guys hear me?
Uh-huh.
Thank you, guys. You women were wonderful. Janet, thank you. Everyone, thank you so much.
Well, it's not
Thank
over.
you, Rick.
Thank you.
So are we all good?
We're all great. So hang on. I just want to drop a few more videos into the chat, or even actually, Rick. You know what? I'll make these all an email. Of
Okay.
these links. And then
Whatever works.
Yeah,
follow
that'll
up.
be helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Follow up
email,
so you can have.
the links in the email will be better.
I'll
How
do
you
that.
doing, Joanne? Joe, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I made it.
Good. You're a
Touch
trooper.
his nails. You kidding me?
Okay, I'm going to stop the recording now.
Cool.
Okay.
Right. Thank you all so much.